fresh blood. William Barrett, CEO of Summit Industries, smiled across the mahogany boardroom table. That's what this company needs. New perspectives, young energy. I sat motionless in my chair, the quarterly report I'd just presented still displayed on the screen behind me. Our best quarter in company history. Revenue up 32%. Client satisfaction at record highs. All under my leadership as Director of Operations. And I was being replaced by a 26-year-old who'd never held a real job in his life. Alex has some innovative ideas, William continued, patting his son's shoulder. Harvard MBA, internships at top firms. He's exactly what Summit needs to move into the future. Alex Barrett slouched in his Italian suit, scrolling through his phone. He hadn't bothered to look up during my entire presentation. Of course, I said carefully, I'd be happy to help with the transition. William waved his hand dismissively. No need, Catherine. Alex starts Monday. We'll need you to clear out your office by end of day Friday. My name is Catherine Mitchell, and until that moment, I'd spent 12 years building Summit Industries into one of the leading technology consulting firms in Boston. I'd started as a junior analyst, worked my way up through pure merit, and transformed our operations from regional to national. Most importantly, I'd personally secured and maintained our relationship with Maxwell Technologies, the client that represented 40% of our annual revenue. But none of that mattered now, because William Barrett's son needed a job worthy of his Harvard MBA. The board's unanimous decision, William added, as if reading my thoughts, will provide 6 months severance, of course. Very generous. The other board members avoided my eyes. They'd watched me grow this company from $10 million to $100 million in annual revenue. Now they were throwing me aside for nepotism. I understand, I said, gathering my papers. I'll have everything ready for Alex by Friday. As I walked to my office, whispers followed. News would spread fast. Catherine Mitchell, the company's rising star, pushed out for the CEO's son. My phone buzzed. A message from David Turner, my deputy director. Just heard. This is insane. What are they thinking? I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I sat at my desk, looking out over the Boston skyline I'd watched change over 12 years. The corner office I'd earned through countless late nights and impossible deadlines. Another message popped up, this one from Linda Zhu at Maxwell Technologies. Quarterly review meeting next week. Need to discuss the new AI integration project. Maxwell Technologies, our biggest client. The company that had trusted me personally with their $50 million digital transformation initiative. The client that Alex Barrett, with his 0 years of actual experience, would now be responsible for managing. I smiled for the first time since the board meeting. Because what William Barrett and the board didn't know was that I'd seen this coming 3 months ago. The whispered conversations, the sudden inclusion of Alex in high-level meetings, the way William had started questioning my every decision. I'd prepared accordingly. Opening my drawer, I pulled out a sleek business card I'd received at last month's tech conference. Victoria Santos, CEO, Quantum Solutions. Quantum was our biggest competitor. They'd been trying to poach me for years, but I'd always declined out of loyalty to Summit. Victoria's latest offer had been different though, not just a director position, but full autonomy to build my own division. I kept her card, just in case. Now I pulled out my phone and dialed. Catherine. Victoria answered on the first ring. I was hoping you'd call. That position's still open. For you? Always. I heard what happened at Summit. Their loss is our gain. I looked at the family photos on my desk. Not personal memories. They were staged photos of the Barretts, which William had insisted every executive display. Time to pack those away first. When can we meet? How about dinner tonight? I have some ideas I think you'll find interesting. I agreed to meet at 7 p.m., then started methodically preparing for my departure. But this wouldn't be the typical executive exit, quietly disappearing with a severance package and non-compete agreement. No, Summit Industries was about to learn a very expensive lesson about valuing the wrong things. My phone buzzed again. Linda from Maxwell. Everything okay? Hearing strange rumors about leadership changes at Summit. Let's have coffee tomorrow, I replied. There are some things we should discuss. By evening, I'd filled 3 boxes with personal items but left all client files exactly as they were. Alex Barrett would need them, not that he'd understand half of what he was looking at. David appeared in my doorway as I was packing the last box. They're making a huge mistake, he said, closing the door behind him. The team's in shock. Nobody can believe they're replacing you with him. I gestured for him to sit. How's morale? Terrible. Sarah's already talking about leaving. Mike's updating his LinkedIn. Everyone knows if they'd push you out, none of us are safe. I nodded slowly. Keep me posted. And David? Don't do anything rash. Not yet. He understood my meaning, nodding slightly before leaving. At 7 p.m., I walked into Sorellina, one of Boston's finest Italian restaurants. Victoria Santos already had a corner table, a bottle of wine breathing beside her. Catherine, she stood to greet me, elegant in a perfectly tailored suit. Thank you for finally accepting my dinner invitation. We ordered, making small talk until the appetizers arrived. Then Victoria leaned forward, her expression turning serious. Here's what I'm thinking, she said. We create a new division at Quantum, specifically focused on enterprise digital transformation. You bring your expertise, your methodology, and, she smiled, any clients who might want to follow you. Interesting proposal, I said carefully. Though my contract has certain non-compete clauses. Victoria's smile widened. Already reviewed by our legal team. The clauses are limited to specific technologies, not general consulting services. And they can't prevent clients from choosing their preferred partners. I took a sip of wine, thinking about Maxwell Technologies' upcoming AI integration project. The one Alex Barrett wouldn't have the faintest idea how to handle. I'll need autonomy, I said. My team, my methods, of course, and a significant equity stake in the new division. When can I start? Victoria pulled out a folder containing a contract. How about Monday? I read through the documents carefully. The terms were excellent. Better salary, better benefits, and most importantly, real authority to build something new. One more thing, Victoria added as I signed. We're announcing the new division next week. Care to guess who our first major client might be? I smiled, thinking of my coffee meeting with Linda tomorrow. I might have some ideas. That night, as I drove home past Summit's offices, I thought about William Barrett's condescending smile. Fresh blood, he'd said, not realizing he was about to learn a very expensive lesson about the difference between nepotism and real leadership. My phone buzzed, a message from David. Alex just sent an email to the whole team, full of corporate buzzwords and zero substance. Called himself our new visionary leader. People are already taking bets on how long before he crashes and burns. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to Linda at Maxwell, outlining some concerns about Summit's new leadership and their ability to handle complex technical projects. By Friday, I'd clear out my office as requested. But by Monday, Summit Industries would begin discovering exactly what they'd lost and what their competitors had gained. They wanted fresh blood. They were about to get it, just not in the way they expected. The game was only beginning. Linda Zhou from Maxwell Technologies was already waiting when I arrived at Thinking Cup Coffee the next morning. She'd chosen a quiet corner table, 2 steaming lattes waiting. "Okay," she said as I sat down. "What's really going on at Summit?" Because Alex Barrett just sent me the most incomprehensible email I've ever read about synergistic value propositions and paradigm-shifting methodologies. I took a sip of coffee, choosing my words carefully. Summit is making some leadership changes. They're replacing you. It wasn't a question. With the CEO's son, who has 0 experience in enterprise technology integration. The board wants fresh perspectives. Linda's eyes narrowed. She hadn't become CTO of a Fortune 500 company by missing subtle signals. "We have a $50 million AI integration project starting next month. One that you personally designed the implementation strategy for." I nodded, pulling out a folder. "Which is why I wanted to meet. There are some concerns you should be aware of." For the next hour, we discussed the technical complexities of Maxwell's upcoming project. The custom frameworks I'd developed, the integration points that required deep understanding of their legacy systems, the potential risks if handled incorrectly. "And Alex Barrett understands all this?" Linda asked, though she clearly knew the answer. Alex Barrett needed 3 attempts to pass Harvard's basic data analytics course. She sat back, fingers drumming on the table. "Catherine, let's be direct. Maxwell Technologies can't risk our digital transformation on an inexperienced CEO's son. Where are you going next?" I smiled. "Sometimes the best moves are the ones your opponents make for you. I'm starting Monday at Quantum Solutions, building a new enterprise transformation division." "Quantum?" She raised an eyebrow. "Victoria Santos's company?" "The same. Complete autonomy, experienced team, and a focus on exactly the kind of complex integration projects Maxwell specializes in." Linda checked her watch. "I have a board meeting at 11. Send me a proposal by end of day. Include timeline, team structure, and technical specifications." Already prepared, I handed her another folder. "Just needs final numbers." She laughed. "Always 3 steps ahead. This is why we trust you with our projects, Catherine." She stood to leave, then paused. "Summit's going to regret this, aren't they?" "Tremendously." Back at Summit, I spent the morning organizing files and preparing transition documents. Not that Alex would understand them, but everything needed to be properly documented for what would come next. David stopped by around lunch, closing my office door. Half the teams already updated their resumes. Sarah got 3 calls from recruiters yesterday alone. "Anyone talking to Quantum?" He grinned. "You tell me." "Word is they're expanding their enterprise division. Need experienced consultants." I kept my expression neutral. "Interesting timing." "Very. By the way, Alex is holding his first team meeting at 2. Mandatory attendance. Want to bet how many buzzwords he fits into the first 5 minutes?" "I have more important things to do." I gestured at my packing boxes. "Like documenting 12 years of client relationships that he's about to destroy." The afternoon brought a stream of visitors to my office. Longtime colleagues stopping by to express their disbelief, share rumors, or just say goodbye. each one left with my personal email address and a knowing look. At 4:30, my phone buzzed, a message from Linda. Proposal reviewed. Board meeting went well. Need to discuss details. Dinner tonight? Before I could reply, another message popped up, this one from Victoria. Maxwell Technologies CTO just called. Well played, Catherine. Very well played. I smiled, remembering William Barrett's dismissive wave. No need for transition help, he'd said. He had no idea what was coming. At 5 p.m., Alex Barrett strutted into my office without knocking, still scrolling through his phone. So where are all the client files and stuff? He asked without looking up. Everything's documented in the shared drive, I replied. Though you might want to start with the basic methodology guides. Yeah, whatever. He cut me off. Dad says this job's pretty simple. Just gotta keep the clients happy, right? I'm thinking we'll start with some fresh ideas, shake things up a bit. I thought about Maxwell's complex AI integration project, the years of groundwork and relationship building, the technical intricacies that Alex couldn't begin to comprehend. Good luck with that. He finally looked up, frowning slightly at my tone. Hey, no hard feelings, right? Dad says sometimes we need to make room for new vision. You understand? Perfectly. I'm sure Maxwell Technologies will understand too. That got his attention. Maxwell? The big AI project client? Don't worry. I smiled. I'm sure your fresh ideas will impress them. Just remember they're investing $50 million in the integration. I'd hate for anything to go wrong. He shifted uncomfortably. Maybe you could write up some notes or something? Everything you need to know is in the documentation. Though you might want to learn what API integration framework means before your first client meeting. He left quickly after that, probably to Google API. At 7 p.m., I met Linda for dinner at Mistral. She was already reviewing the proposal I'd sent, pages marked with sticky notes. Our board has some concerns about Summit's new leadership, she said as we ordered, particularly regarding the AI integration project. Understandable. They're also very interested in this new proposal, especially the technical architecture you've designed. She smiled. The one that's not covered by Summit's non-compete agreement. I took a sip of wine. Summit's agreement only covers specific implementations. This is an entirely new framework. Exactly what our legal team said. She pulled out a document. Which is why we'd like to discuss moving our business to quantum solutions. Effective immediately. The document was a letter of intent. Maxwell Technologies would terminate their contract with Summit Industries due to material changes in project leadership and concerns about technical capabilities. Victoria's expecting your call, I said. Linda signed the letter with a flourish. Already scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. I assume you'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. Later that night, as I packed the last items from my Summit office, my phone lit up with messages. David, Alex just tried to explain machine learning to the dev team. It was painful. Pretty sure he thinks AI means awesome ideas. Sarah, Quantum Solutions posted 6 new positions. Enterprise integration experience required. Coincidence? Victoria, meeting with Maxwell confirmed for 9 a.m. Bring your technical specs. And Catherine? The board wants to discuss fast-tracking your division's launch. I looked around my empty office one last time. 12 years of memories, achievements, relationships. All sacrificed for William Barrett's nepotism. Monday morning would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. My phone buzzed one final time. Linda again. Just sent the termination notice to Summit's board. cited leadership concerns and technical capability gaps. Copy to all board members. Want to bet how long before they realize what's really happening? I smiled, turning off the lights in my office for the last time. They wanted fresh blood, I typed back. They're about to get it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about showing exactly what was lost. And what happens when you value the wrong things. Summit Industries was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Monday morning at Quantum Solutions felt like stepping into another world. My new office, larger than the one at Summit, overlooked Boston Harbor. The morning sun glinted off the water, a fresh start. Victoria had already arrived, carrying 2 cups of premium coffee. Ready to shake up the industry? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from David. Total chaos here. Board called emergency meeting after Maxwell's termination letter. William Barrett looks like he's about to explode. Another message followed quickly. Alex tried calling Maxwell's tech team. They hung up when he couldn't explain basic integration protocols. His dad's office door is locked, and everyone can hear yelling. I smiled, setting my phone aside. More than ready. The 9 a.m. meeting with Maxwell Technologies took place in Quantum's largest conference room. Linda brought her entire technical team, plus their legal department. Victoria sat beside me, watching as I walked through our implementation strategy. Timeline remains the same, I explained, pulling out detailed project plans. But with Quantum's enhanced infrastructure and my new team's expertise, we can actually accelerate certain integration phases. Linda's team nodded approvingly. They'd worked with me for years, trusted my technical judgment. More importantly, they understood exactly why we were all sitting in Quantum's offices instead of Summit's. One concern, Linda said, though her smile suggested it wasn't really a concern at all. Summit's legal team is claiming some of this technical architecture belongs to them. Victoria slid forward a document prepared by Quantum's lawyers. We've reviewed every line of code, every framework component. Everything Catherine's proposing was either developed independently or falls outside Summit's intellectual property claims. Besides, I added, pulling up a specific section of code, this is a completely new integration framework. Designed last weekend, actually. Linda laughed, while Alex Barrett was probably Googling what API means. Exactly. By 10:30, the contracts were signed. Maxwell Technologies was officially transferring their $50 million project and all future work to Quantum Solutions. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a call from Summit Industries, William Barrett himself. I let it go to voicemail. Speaking of Summit, Victoria said as our visitors left, ready for the next phase? I nodded, pulling up another presentation. This one detailed my plans for Quantum's new Enterprise Solutions division, including the team I planned to build. How many Summit employees are we expecting? Victoria asked. By end of week, I checked my messages. At least 15. All top performers. Perfect. HR's ready with offer letters. The rest of Monday passed in a blur of meetings, planning sessions, and a steady stream of messages from Summit. William Barrett. Voicemail. Catherine, we need to discuss this Maxwell situation immediately. Call me back. Alex Barrett. Email. Hey, so like there might be some confusion about the Maxwell project stuff. Can you maybe explain some things? Dad's pretty upset. Summit Board Chairman. Email. Ms. Mitchell, the board would like to schedule an urgent meeting regarding recent developments. Please advise your availability. I responded to none of them. Instead, I focused on building something new. My team at Quantum was taking shape quickly. Sarah arrived Tuesday morning to head our technical integration unit. Mike joined Wednesday as lead architect. By Thursday, most of Summit's top performers had submitted their resignations. It's a mass exodus, David reported during our lunch meeting. HR can't process exit paperwork fast enough. Alex is walking around like a lost puppy, trying to understand the technical documentation you left. How's William taking it? Hasn't left his office in 2 days. Board members keep showing up for closed-door meetings. Stocks down 15% since Maxwell's announcement. I nodded, sliding an offer letter across the table. Ready to join us? He grinned, already pulling out a pen. Been ready since they announced Alex's promotion. Friday morning brought the news I'd been waiting for. Summit Industries had called an emergency shareholder meeting. Reason: discussion of recent material changes in client relationships and personnel matters. Victoria appeared in my office doorway, waving her phone. Seen the news? Just did. Their stock's down 23% now. Analysts are questioning the company's stability after losing Maxwell. Rumors about leadership problems. I smiled, remembering William's dismissive wave. Fresh blood has consequences. Around noon, Linda sent me a screenshot of an email from Alex Barrett, desperately trying to salvage Maxwell's business. It was filled with corporate buzzwords and demonstrated a complete lack of technical understanding. Please tell me you have a better proposal ready, she wrote. I did. My team had spent the week refining our implementation strategy, incorporating innovations that Summit hadn't even considered. We presented Monday. At 2 p.m., Summit's board chairman called again. This time, I answered. Catherine, he sounded tired. I hope you can appreciate the difficult position we're in. I appreciate that actions have consequences, Charles. The board, we may have acted hastily. If you're open to discussing a return, I'm not. A long pause. Catherine, be reasonable. The company's losing millions in value. Alex clearly isn't ready for this role. William knows he made a mistake. No, I cut him off. William knows he's about to lose his job. The board knows they backed the wrong horse. And you all know that Maxwell isn't the only client who trusts me personally with their technical strategy. Another pause. How many more? Guess you'll find out soon enough. By end of day, the news was official. William Barrett had stepped down as CEO of Summit Industries, effective immediately. Alex's appointment was under review, but it was too late. Monday morning, I stood before Quantum's board, presenting our division's first-month projections. The numbers were staggering. Maxwell Technologies is just the beginning, I explained. 3 more major Summit clients have already reached out about transferring their business. Combined annual revenue, approximately $120 million. Victoria beamed. The board members nodded approvingly. Moreover, I continued, we've acquired top talent from Summit's technical teams, people who understand these client relationships, who've built trust over years. My phone buzzed. Another message from Summit's board chairman. Final offer. Name your price, please. I ignored it, focusing on my presentation. By end of quarter, we project our division's revenue will exceed Summit's total annual earnings. That evening, I walked along the harbor, reflecting on how much had changed in just 2 weeks. My new office at Quantum was fully settled. My team was thriving, energized by the opportunity to build something new. Our client pipeline was overflowing. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert. Summit Industries announces restructuring amid client exodus, stock down 40% year to date. Below that was a LinkedIn update from Alex Barrett. Excited to announce I'm returning to graduate school to deepen my technical knowledge. I smiled, remembering William's words, fresh blood. That's what this company needs. He'd been right about one thing. Summit did need fresh blood. They just didn't realize it would be flowing to their competitors. 1 year later, I stood in Quantum's largest conference room, addressing our now 200-person Enterprise Solutions division. On the screen behind me, a simple graph told the story. Quantum Solutions. Revenue up 180% year-over-year. Summit Industries. Filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Success, I told my team, isn't about titles or family connections. It's about value. Real value. The kind you can't fake with buzzwords or MBA degrees. I looked out at the faces, many former Summit employees who'd followed me to build something better. People who'd been overlooked, undervalued, or pushed aside for someone's son. They thought replacing me with an inexperienced heir was good business. I continued. They didn't realize that real leadership isn't inherited, it's earned. Victoria joined me at the podium to make a special announcement. Our division was being spun off as its own company. I would be CEO. As applause filled the room, I thought about William Barrett's condescending smile, about Alex's clueless arrogance, about a board that valued nepotism over merit. They'd wanted fresh blood. They got it. And the business world had learned a valuable lesson about the true cost of choosing the wrong leader. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising higher than your opponents ever dreamed possible. And we were still rising. They got it. And the business world had learned a valuable lesson about the true cost of choosing the wrong leader. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising higher than your opponents ever dreamed possible. And we were still rising. When people walked past me in the halls of Riverstone Technologies, their eyes would slide right over me, like I was part of the furniture. Just another shadow in a gray uniform, pushing a cleaning cart through their gleaming offices. That's the thing about being a janitor. You become invisible, but invisibility has its advantages, especially when you're building an empire right under their noses. My name is Marcus Torres, and for 5 years, I cleaned the offices of the most arrogant tech executives in Seattle while secretly running a software company that would eventually make them all look like fools. It started on a rainy Tuesday evening in 2018. I was emptying the trash in Bradley Morrison's corner office, the CEO who loved to remind everyone of his Harvard MBA, when I noticed a document left open on his desk. A software development contract worth $2.3 million for a basic inventory management system. The kind of system I could build in my sleep. You see, before life threw me some curveballs, I had a master's in computer science from MIT, but a family crisis, a sick mother, and mounting medical bills had forced me to take whatever work I could find. The janitorial position at Riverstone paid reliably and offered health insurance. More importantly, the night shift gave me my days free to work on my own projects. That contract became my inspiration. If Riverstone could charge millions for basic software, why couldn't I? I had the skills, the knowledge, and now I had something else. Insight into exactly what major companies were willing to pay for. Every night, as I cleaned their offices, I listened and learned. Executives would often work late, having loud conversations on speakerphone about their clients' needs, their pricing strategies, their pain points. They never noticed me. Why would they? I was just the guy emptying their trash, cleaning their coffee stains, dusting their awards. "Make sure you get that corner," Bradley would say without looking up from his screen, waving vaguely at some imagined dirt. His tone always carried that special kind of condescension reserved for people he considered beneath him. His assistant, Melissa, was worse. "The janitor doesn't understand English very well," she'd tell visitors with a stage whisper, assuming my brown skin meant I was an immigrant. I never corrected her. Let them underestimate me. I spoke 4 languages fluently and was coding complex algorithms while they were still learning their ABCs. During my days, I built my company, Taurus Solutions. Working from my small apartment, I developed software that was faster, more intuitive, and far more sophisticated than anything Riverstone was selling. My first client came through an online freelancing platform. A small manufacturing company needed an inventory system. I charged them 1/10 of what Riverstone would have, delivered in half the time. That first success led to another, then another. I reinvested every penny into the business, living frugally in my 1-bedroom apartment, driving my old Toyota, and maintaining my janitor position. Not just for the steady paycheck, but for the invaluable market intelligence. We lost the McKinley contract. I overheard Bradley telling his board one evening while I mopped the conference room floor. They said our pricing was too high and our technology too outdated. I smiled to myself. I knew exactly who had won that contract: Taurus Solutions. My company had been operating under my mother's maiden name, Silva Technologies, to avoid any connection to the quiet janitor at Riverstone. By my 3rd year pushing that cleaning cart through their halls, my company had grown to 15 employees, all working remotely, none knowing their CEO spent his nights cleaning offices. We had clients across 3 continents, a revolutionary cloud-based enterprise system, and a reputation for excellence. Still, I kept working at Riverstone, kept listening, learning, and watching as they slowly lost market share to this mysterious new competitor they couldn't quite figure out. "Silva Technologies is eating our lunch," Bradley ranted one evening, pacing his office while I cleaned his windows. "Their software is better, faster, and they're undercutting us at every turn. How the hell are they doing it?" I had to turn away to hide my smile. If he only knew the answer was right there, Windex bottle in hand, making his windows sparkle. The real turning point came during their annual company party. I wasn't invited, of course, but I was there anyway, refilling water pitchers and clearing away plates. Bradley had too much to drink and was holding court near the bar. "Let me tell you the secret to success," he announced to a group of young employees. "It's about knowing your place in the world. Take our janitor here." He gestured vaguely in my direction. "Some people are meant to clean floors, and some are meant to run companies. That's just how the world works." The group laughed, that uncomfortable laugh people use when they know something isn't right, but don't have the courage to say so. I memorized each of their faces. They would learn soon enough how wrong Bradley was. That night, after my shift, I sat in my car in the empty parking lot and made a call to my board of directors. Successful industry veterans who had invested in Taurus Solutions but had never met me in person. "It's time," I told them. "Let's make an offer on the Riverstone building." The piece of paper that would change everything arrived 3 weeks later, delivered to Bradley Morrison's desk in a thick envelope right before I started my evening shift. I made sure I was cleaning nearby when he opened it. His face turned pale as he read, then red with anger. "This has to be a joke," he sputtered, storming out to the main office area. "Silva Technologies just bought our building. They're our new landlord." I continued cleaning, hiding my satisfaction as chaos erupted around me. Soon they would all know exactly who owned Silva Technologies. Soon they would understand that the man they had looked down on for years was about to become not just their landlord, but their biggest competitor. The next morning would bring a reckoning none of them saw coming, and I would finally reveal that success isn't about knowing your place, it's about creating it, even if you have to start with a mop in your hands. The morning of the revelation, I arrived at Riverstone Technologies dressed differently than usual. Instead of my gray janitor's uniform, I wore a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than Bradley Morrison made in a month. The security guard at the front desk, who had barely glanced at me for 5 years, did a double take. "Sir, can I help you?" he asked, not recognizing the man who had nodded hello to him every evening for half a decade. I smiled, pulling out my ID. "Marcus Torres, CEO of Silva Technologies. I believe you received a memo about our representatives arriving this morning." His eyes widened as recognition slowly dawned. "Wait, aren't you?" "Yes, James," I said, using his first name, something that made him blink in surprise. "I'm also the night janitor. Or I was, until yesterday. I've already submitted my resignation letter to the facilities management company." I left him staring after me as I walked to the elevator, my leather shoes clicking against the marble floor instead of the quiet squeak of my work boots. The same elevator I had cleaned thousands of times now carried me upward, my reflection in its polished walls showing a man stepping fully into his power. The office was already buzzing when I stepped out onto the executive floor. News of Silva Technologies buying the building had spread like wildfire, and a crowd had gathered near Bradley's office. Through the glass walls, I could see him gesturing angrily on a phone call. Melissa, his assistant, was the first to spot me. "Excuse me, this area is for..." Her voice trailed off as she squinted at me. "Do I know you?" "You do," I replied calmly, "although you usually tell visitors I don't understand English very well." The color drained from her face. Several heads turned in our direction as recognition rippled through the crowd. Bradley, noticing the sudden silence, looked up from his phone call. Our eyes met through the glass wall, and I saw the exact moment understanding hit him. He dropped his phone. "Security," he shouted, rushing out of his office. "What is the meaning of this?" I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "The meaning is quite simple, Mr. Morrison. As your new landlord, I'm here to discuss some changes to the building's management structure. But first, I believe proper introductions are in order. I am Marcus Torres, CEO of Silva Technologies, or as you know us, the company that's been eating your lunch for the past 2 years. I gestured to the gathering crowd. Most of you know me better as the night janitor who's been cleaning your offices, collecting your trash, and apparently not understanding English. The silence was deafening. Bradley's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "You're a janitor." "Correction," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the stunned office. "I was a janitor. I'm also an MIT graduate with a master's in computer science, fluent in 4 languages, and the founder of a company currently valued at $300 million. And thanks to all of you, I had the perfect market research laboratory right here." Melissa had sunk into her chair, looking like she might faint. Others were whispering furiously, some looking ashamed, others incredulous. I noticed Janet from accounting, one of the few who had always treated me with kindness, trying to hide a smile. "Every time you discussed pricing strategies in front of me, every time you complained about lost contracts, every time you bragged about overcharging clients for subpar software, you gave me invaluable insights." I turned to Bradley. You were right about one thing, though. Success is about knowing your place in the world. I just decided not to accept the place you thought I should stay in. This is a trick, Bradley declared, but his voice wavered. A publicity stunt. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number on speaker. Mr. Williams, could you please join us? A minute later, Thomas Williams, my company's well-known CFO and board member, stepped out of the elevator. Good morning, Marcus, he said warmly, then turned to address the crowd. I assume you're all meeting our CEO properly for the first time. I must say, his understanding of market dynamics and customer needs is unparalleled. Though I never did understand why he insisted on keeping his identity quiet for so long. Bradley had collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. The contracts, the McKinley account. That was you. I nodded. Along with the Peterson Group, Western Dynamics, and about 30 other former Riverstone clients. Turns out people prefer working with a company that respects everyone, regardless of their position. You can't do this, Bradley whispered, but the fight had gone out of his voice. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, I can, I interrupted. As your new landlord, I'm exercising my right to review all tenant situations. And given Riverstone's declining market position and late rent payments for the past 3 months, we have some decisions to make. The whispers turned to gasps. Few people knew about the late payments. I had seen the notices while cleaning the accounting department. We're making changes to the building's operational structure, I continued. First, all janitorial staff will receive a significant pay increase and full benefits. Second, any company renting space in this building must maintain strict ethical standards in their treatment of all employees, regardless of position. I turned to face the crowd directly. And finally, Riverstone Technologies has 30 days to either meet these new standards or find new office space. I hear there are some nice vacancies in the industrial district. Bradley jumped up. You can't evict us. We'll sue. Thomas stepped forward, his legal background evident in his calm demeanor. Everything is perfectly legal, Mr. Morrison. We can provide you with all the necessary documentation. Though I wouldn't recommend a legal battle, our evidence of discriminatory practices and toxic workplace culture is quite extensive. I walked to the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. 5 years ago, I took this job out of necessity. I needed the health insurance to help care for my sick mother. But I stayed because you all taught me something valuable. Success isn't just about building something better. It's about changing the system that keeps people down. Turning back to the stunned faces, I smiled. Now, shall we discuss your new lease terms? Or would you prefer to start looking for new office space? The next few hours were a blur of meetings, legal discussions, and shocked conversations. Word spread through the building like electricity. The janitor who had quietly cleaned their offices for years was actually a successful CEO who now owned the building. Every snide comment, every dismissive gesture, every moment of condescension had been witnessed and remembered by someone they never thought would hold power over them. By afternoon, Bradley had retreated to his office, frantically calling investors and board members. Melissa had taken a sick day and gone home. But others, especially those who had shown me kindness over the years, came forward with congratulations and, in some cases, job applications. As I sat in my car that evening, looking up at the building I now owned, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Your father would have been so proud, she wrote. He always said success was the best revenge. I smiled, thinking of all the nights I had pushed that cleaning cart through these halls, dreaming of this moment. But now that it had arrived, I realized something important. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about transformation. Not just of my own life, but of a system that too often judges people by their current position rather than their potential. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would be legal threats from Bradley, attempts to discredit me, and the massive task of restructuring both the building's management and my growing company. But for now, I savored the quiet satisfaction of having shown them all that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one they don't even see. The real work was just beginning, and this time, I wouldn't be the one cleaning up their messes. 6 months after my revelation as the owner of Silva Technologies, I stood in what used to be Bradley Morrison's corner office, watching the Seattle sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The space looked different now. Gone were the pretentious awards and self-congratulatory photos, replaced by a collaborative workspace where my team could gather and innovate. The changes in the building had been dramatic, but not in the way most people expected. Despite having every right to evict Riverstone Technologies, I had offered them a chance to stay, under new management and with very specific conditions. Bradley, predictably, hadn't taken it well. The day after my revelation, he had stormed into my temporary office, previously the janitor's break room, which I had specifically chosen for its symbolism, with 2 lawyers in tow. "This is corporate espionage," he had blustered, throwing a thick folder on my desk. "We're suing you for every penny you have." I had simply smiled and pressed play on my laptop, showing security camera footage of him berating staff, making discriminatory comments, and discussing questionable business practices, all recorded during my years as the invisible janitor in the background. "Would you like me to play the audio of you instructing Melissa to falsify billing records for the Anderson account?" I had asked calmly. "Or perhaps the conversation where you bragged about overcharging clients for outdated software?" His lawyers had exchanged glances and quietly suggested they reassess their strategy. Bradley had resigned the following week, though he insisted it was to pursue other opportunities. The real surprise had come from Riverstone's board of directors. After reviewing the evidence I had gathered and seeing the innovation potential of Silva Technologies, they had proposed a merger. Not a hostile takeover, but a true partnership that would preserve jobs while transforming the company culture. "Your experience gives you a unique perspective," the board chairman had said. "You've seen this company from both the bottom and the top. Who better to lead us into the future?" I had accepted, but on my terms. The first order of business? A complete overhaul of employee compensation and treatment, starting with the cleaning and maintenance staff. Every person who worked in the building, regardless of position, would receive living wages, full benefits, and respect. Janet from accounting had been promoted to CFO after her detailed knowledge of the company's finances proved invaluable during the transition. She had been one of the few who had always seen people for their potential rather than their position. Melissa, surprisingly, had asked to stay. "I want to learn to be better," she had said, her usual arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. I was wrong about, well, everything. She now ran our diversity and inclusion training program, using her own past behavior as an example of what needed to change. The McKinley contract, which had been one of our biggest points of contention with Riverstone, had expanded under the merged company's new direction. We chose Silva Technologies because they understood value isn't just about price, their CEO had told me. Now we see it was also about values. My mother's health had improved, thanks to the advanced medical care I could now provide. She had moved into a comfortable house near the office, and every Friday we had dinner together, often joined by my team members who had become like family. Remember when you used to come home exhausted from cleaning all night? She asked one evening. Look at you now, Mahijo. You didn't just build a company. You built a legacy. That legacy became clearer 1 year after the merger when I received an email from a young woman named Sophia, a custodian working her way through engineering school. I heard your story, she wrote. Yesterday, one of the executives saw me reading a coding book during my lunch break. Instead of laughing, she asked about my studies and offered me an internship. She said you taught them to look for talent everywhere. The email had brought tears to my eyes. This was why I had maintained my cover for so long, gathering evidence not just of wrongdoing, but of the systemic biases that needed to change. Today, as I prepared for our annual company meeting, I thought about how far we come. The merged company, now called Taurus Stone Innovation Group, had tripled in value. Our software was still the best in the industry, but our real innovation had been in creating a corporate culture that valued every contributor. The meeting room filled with employees from all levels of the company. The old hierarchy that had once separated important people from the help had disappeared. Our head of UX design had started in the mailroom. Our newest board member had previously worked as a parking attendant while earning his MBA. Good morning, I began, looking out at the faces before me. Today marks 1 year since our merger, but more importantly, it marks 1 year since we began proving that success doesn't belong to any one group of people. It belongs to those who persist, regardless of their starting point. I gestured to the cleaning cart I had rolled onto the stage, the same one I had pushed through these halls for 5 years. Some of you know this cart well. I kept it as a reminder that dignity isn't given by position. It's inherent in every person who shows up and does their best work, whatever that work may be. The room was silent, many nodding in understanding. Last quarter, our profits exceeded projections by 45%. Our employee satisfaction scores are the highest in the industry. And just yesterday, Forbes magazine named us one of the best companies to work for, specifically citing our practice of promoting from within and recognizing potential in unexpected places. I smiled, thinking of Bradley and his beliefs about people knowing their place. But our real success isn't in the numbers. It's in the stories I hear every day. The security guard who's now leading our cybersecurity team. The receptionist who identified a way to streamline our client communication and is now our head of customer experience. The janitor who? Well, you all know that story. Laughter rippled through the room. We're not just a technology company. We're proof that the greatest untapped resource in any organization is the human potential they fail to see. Success isn't about knowing your place. It's about refusing to let others define your limits. After the meeting, I walked through the office floors, greeting people by name, something Bradley had never bothered to do. The building felt different now, alive with possibility, rather than weighted by hierarchy. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Bradley Morrison's new venture files for bankruptcy. I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet acknowledgement that success built on demeaning others was always built on sand. That evening, as I prepared to leave the office, I passed the janitor's closet where I had once changed into my uniform every night. A new plaque hung on the door. From this space, a revolution in corporate culture began. Every position has power. Every person has potential. I smiled, remembering all the nights I had stood in that small room, dreaming of the day I would transform this company. Those dreams had come true, but in a way I hadn't expected. Yes, I had become successful, but more importantly, I had created a path for others to follow. As I walked to my car, I passed James, the security guard who had first witnessed my transformation from janitor to CEO. He was helping a young maintenance worker with some computer coding questions. "Mr. Torres," James called out. "Remember how you said success is about creating opportunities?" I nodded. "Well, Marco here is a programming genius. I think you'll want to see what he's been working on." I smiled, recognizing the look of determination in Marco's eyes, the same look I had carried for 5 years. "Let's talk tomorrow," I said. "My office is always open." Driving home, I thought about how true success isn't in proving others wrong. It's in proving that their entire system of judgment was flawed from the start. Every night, people like Marco clean offices, serve food, guard buildings, and dream of something more. They don't need pity or handouts. They need what everyone needs: a chance to show their true potential. I had done more than build $1 million company. I had created a place where the next Marcus Torres wouldn't have to spend 5 years pretending to be less than they were. And that, more than any revenue number or market share, was the real measure of success.